It's 12 months ago, we were in the Sofitel in Bali. Rio, I remember those board shorts that you were wearing. It was horrible. Eric, that was such a bad t-shirt. So I'm glad to move to Jakarta because you all look a lot more respectable. 12 months, it's interesting to know what's happened in 12 months' time. I'm going to give you 15 minutes on M&A. We're running a bit late, so we're going to get stuck straight into this. This, as you can see, this is from 2017 onward. 30% of branded full-service hotel rooms have been the subject of an M&A transaction, over 1 million rooms. What happened? How long is 12 months? 12 months is long enough for Accor to do all of that. My God, look at that. Mantra, 20,000 rooms. SBE, very funky, edgy, drug-addled hotel management company out of Las Vegas. Aton, Middle East, Movenpick did that deal. That just closed 2 days ago. 82 hotels, another 47 in the pipeline, 560 million euros. We can talk about the values later on if anybody wants to. Madis, Museum, the last one is Museum. IHG, there's a deal close to Eric's heart, the Regent. Wyndham, they've been busy. La Quinta, Marion, Minor, wow. Our little Thai friends taking on a monster of NH in Spain. Let's see, it's early days on that yet. Jin Jiang just announced Radisson, not quite finished yet, but and then Choice has done that deal. So, busy time in the last 12 months. Is there any more room left? Are we all fully chock-a-block? That's it? Accor, Rio, you can retire now, nothing further to do? No. There is a long way to go in this industry. If you look at major consumer things like cruise lines, car rentals, if you take the top 5 of those in that particular industry, what do they represent? And the top 5 guys, even after the mergers we've been talking about, only represents 25% of this industry. Essentially, we are very fragmented. There is a long way to go in the fragmentation story. The reason for it, you can hear this from Arnie Sorensen, from Marriott or anybody else, Sebastian, the gaining scale, grow more rapidly, more bargaining power against online travel agents, penetrate high entry barriers to entry in mature markets, save costs. They're all of the big drivers as to this. Is it working? What do we say? Is there a backlash against it? There's another slide I could put up which would show you the share price of all of the major lodging companies. Let's take it back to the date of 2016 when the Marriott Starwood transaction was announced. And if we track the share prices of everybody as indexed, the Starwood is currently operating at a premium of 38% to its peers. Hyatt, Marriott, Hyatt, IHG, Accor. Certainly the stock market thinks that's a goer. Let's just talk a little bit around some of the fallout of the consolidation issue is around the question of loyalty. Marriott, on the 15th of August, announced the merger of the two groups with Starwood, the Ritz-Carlton Collection plus Starwood and Marriott, about 110 people. IHG is about 100. Hilton, 74. The Accor one, if you add in the Hazu, which is the China lodging transaction of a couple of years ago, that puts them right up at around 160 members. There's a question around loyalty, which we might spend a second on. Is it really worth it? Booking.com have done a study on really looking at what the cost of acquiring the customer is all about. And really, if you've got the patience and the fortitude of really drilling down as to what it costs to get the customer, if you've got them already locked into a loyalty program, you're well down the track of that. And so I think that's one of some of the issues around loyalty that we can talk about. But that's what that's looking like. The other way is not to buy other companies, but do the tie-ups. And we spoke about a little bit today around the Marriott Starwood Alibaba deal. These are deals where you've got disparate people, some in the hotel industry, some are not, are hooking up to, and somewhat indiscriminately, it would look like, hooking up all over the place here with either other smaller distribution businesses like Hyatt's deal with small luxury hotels, which was just announced just a couple of weeks ago. That's a deal where you can redeem points and flip points between the world of Hyatt points and the small luxury hotels. And Hyatt also did a deal with Ctrip. Thought that might work for them. However, Accor's deal with Ctrip is a lot deeper and a lot more profound. Huazhu, as we said, they get 113 million members there. Shangri-La and Taj said, gee, we're big players, we're getting left out. how can we make our loyalty programs more efficient? They're quite small. So let's do, again, a reciprocity deal between those two. So this is all the other stuff that's going on, not necessarily M&A per se, but these are strategic partnerships that are forming. There is another double the number of deals on that page that are in the pipeline. So this is the other part that's happening. Here's the other surprising thing about loyalty. Marriott, we know, is in the business of managing hotels. Would that be right, from Marriott? And for that, you receive a base fee and a management fee. For that, they get about $3.8 billion a year. However, 10% of the revenues they got had nothing to do with getting people to come through the door to stay in their hotel room. 10% of Marriott's total fee comes from the deal they cut with American Express and JP Morgan Chase. So this is what happens when you get scale, when you get the ability with 110 million members who are of a certain particular demographic, who have a particular spending pattern which is known pretty well. That is what American Express and JP Morgan are about. I mean, American Express, if you look at it compared to Alipay and all the other payment agencies and possibilities out there, is really under threat. So what does it need to do? It needs to get a hold of the best possible customer it can, in the most efficient way it can, and sure, it's prepared to pay $380 million to get their hands on it. And for those guests, they do get accelerated points as a result of this particular credit card and the co-branding. I do wonder whether the owners are happy about that accelerated points position, because we all know that these loyalty programs are a cost to owners. But that's a deal. And when I was in the office with Rick Hoffman, who runs M&A, and I'm there trying to pitch him deals all around the world, because that's what I do. Try and sell management companies and buy and sell and invest in. He said, yeah. He said, that's all great, Tony. But he said, I spend most of my time now doing financial deals like this. And again, he's got a couple more of these in the pipeline. Imagine how many hotels that is and how many GMs to get $380 million worth of fees. And all you got to do is cut a deal with American Express and JP Morgan. So that's a little bit around what's happening on loyalty. The second way that the brands are getting bigger and better is they're moving into what we call soft brands, which may involve a management, or may involve a franchise, or may involve some sort of distribution agreement. These are, this process has started a little while ago. Probably, maybe Autograph was one of the first people to get into this, but now you'll see Wyndham have got trademark, David Ray. I wonder if you're trying to, David's still here, yeah? You're trying to do any of those in Europe, David? In Asia Pacific? Few? Okay, yeah. So what you're doing there is you're looking at it, doesn't necessarily fit into the brand standards of any one of your other brands, of which you have, what, 37 or something? How many you got? Only 20, okay. Well, we know our friends at Marriott Starwood have got 30. So when they don't quite fit the brand standards, then you put them into this bucket. Now, there's a brand new one down the bottom there under Hilton called LXR, which is only about a week old. We've got our friends from Hilton here. So we've got one of those in the world, have we? Yep, right, in Dubai. Okay, so that is a luxury, that's probably equivalent to Marriott's luxury collection. Would that be right? Just so we get the fit and twist of it. So this is a really interesting world. So if you're going to sign up for one of these, our established management agreements and franchise agreements, despite the good work of those ratbag lawyers, which I used to be one, but despite all that, the areas and the parameters of dispute are relatively well known, and we get through the process of negotiation. It'll take us a couple of weeks or maybe a month or two, but ultimately we'll get there. When you're signing up to these things, this is a whole new world yet, where everybody has got a different position. So because the example is, if I happen to own a hotel and I'm going to put it into the Curio collection, I've already got a brand. I've got this fabulous hotel called Ryan's Luxury Hotel, and I'm then going to give it and make it a Curio, but I've already got a website, I've already got a presence, I've got a brand, it's exceedingly well known for whatever the Ryan Luxury Hotel might be known for, but it's already well known. So the question is, why am I putting it with Curio? Now there's some reason I'm doing that, probably because I'm going to get better distribution, you'd hope at least. Now if you're doing that, then the issue is, how do we know that that guest was delivered by Curio or whether or not this was a previous guest of mine that has been a loyal follower of mine. Because some of these are saying, well, look, I'll sign up on the basis you're going to give me extra, but I'm only going to pay you a fee for the guest you deliver. And where we got to a little while ago, the story was, well, if they're a Hilton loyalty club member, then that's a Hilton guest. But the problem is we know he would have got signed up the first day, or I would have been signed up already. So that doesn't really work. So the question is, how are we going to be able to differentiate between what was my guest and what was a guest that Hilton has delivered, which I'm prepared to pay an extra fee for? They're all the sorts of new issues that we're yet to work through, and there's a host of others around the Curio brand. So people say it quickly and think it's going to be the panacea of all problems. I think you've really got to work through this in a little more detail, and I think the brands are still working their way as well to understand all the issues that make sense to put a soft brand in place. Okay, let's go to Indonesia. This is a little bit around Indonesia's appetite for loyalty, which is actually quite high. If you look at it for financial institutions, 75, that's, that sort of makes sense. When you walk the streets, there's a strong loyalty attachment to the financial institution. Retailers, hotels, again, look, it's a comparable, it's relatively high. For airlines, it's low, but then that's probably because you've got such a plethora of low-cost carriers in this country, and they're all so competitive. So you've got a situation there where there is already a preponderance to sign up to loyalty programs in Indonesia. So it's something in the psyche, it's something about getting a good deal, something about maybe a little bit about feeling special, being looked after in that special way, getting access to the lounge or whatever. So these are the sorts of things. So there is, I think, not to be dismissed in this country. This is a slide we had at the time. Indonesia is a unique country around the world, and I get to see an awful lot of countries around the world, but in terms of the strength of the local, if I can say, indigenous management companies. The only other place that is similar to this is Japan. And there are a series of very strong international players, and we were delighted earlier on today to honour Charlie for really building that brand called Archipelago, which is right up there, nudging Accor. These are, and generally the feature is it's a strong domestic market, then the brands are strong and domestic. They also do understand the locale. There are some other unique features about Indonesia, the way Traveloka works, its relationship with through the banks in terms of payment. They're all some unique features that the local players do have a certain strength in pitching against the other brands. However, do not be surprised that you will find all of those other non-local brands very aggressively pushing into this market for all the good reasons that we heard earlier today about why Indonesia's on the map. This is just one of the slides. You will have seen all these spaghetti junction type slides around how does a guest make the decision, and the raft of different distribution channels that are available, social influencing. So this slide is going to be around. It's actually not a bad idea to follow a booking, and there's also a payment line on all of this, so you can see who makes all the money. This is a point that's again been made in earlier talks. This is getting unbelievably complicated. It really is. It really is, and that's where you need the best possible advice. I noticed that Manav earlier today was talking about their ability in terms of revenue management. You're going to hear it from the brands. You're going to hear it from everybody else. There is not a solution to this. There is not one answer to this. Giving all of your rooms to booking is not going to be the answer. Giving all your rooms to a wholesaler is not going to be the answer. It requires a level of aggression and knowledge to be able to play in that game. But any successful hotelier, that's the arena in which you're going to go and do battle. Just I've got, oh, 1 second ago. This is just a little bit around, again, a feature of Indonesia, which I think is really interesting, around how you're going to make as part of your distribution strategy. Clearly, Indonesia, compared to China, India, Vietnam, Singapore, and Australia, it is all about smartphones in terms of the way that people are booking. I was really surprised, and you can see the millennials, which is on the left-hand side for Indonesia, is actually higher than even just the ordinary population. So, if you're looking for a strategy and you don't have a smartphone, whether or not you're Panorama or Archipelago or whoever you are, then you're seriously going to be missing out, and in terms of the investment that is made in this particular area, such that, as you know, the millennials, it's got to be 3 clicks that I've done the booking. And you'll find that for an awful lot of the apps, it takes a hell of a lot more than 3 clicks. That is, I said 15 minutes. So that's happy to have a chat to anybody a little bit later on. But you can see this is the industry we're in. We talked about change. This is a whirlpool of pressures that are being applied in our industry, and it's going in all sorts of different directions. As I say, what a great time to be alive. But it's you've really got to be on top of your game. That's why we come to conferences like this. And so thank you all.